got out of the Ryan fight, which you just mentioned, and I know he has some legal issues. He's probably on like a 90-day house arrest or something like that.
Right.
Devin Haney's about to fight Vasily Lomachenko, right?
Yeah.
So it depends. If it's a war, might need a little extra time off.
Mm-hmm.
Shakur might be available before those guys come available.
Yeah.
So let's say if Shakur's next fight, he can't get Devin, he can't get Tank. What do we want to see from Shakur? I threw out that name, Jermaine Ortiz. Any other names you want to throw out there?
Jermaine Ortiz probably makes the most sense. I'll probably have to agree with you. Makes
Yeah.
the most sense. They both on the top rank,
Mm-hmm.
and he's available. And of course, I know you mentioned that would be a good fight even previously before they had that back and forth, which was interesting. So yeah, I'll probably say definitely Jermaine Ortiz, just given his performance against Lomachenko, it's a no brainer at this point. So
Yeah. And now they got that back and forth going. But I just think Jermaine's his size, his strength, you know what I'm saying? Shakur is a master boxer. We all know this. But what happens when the fight gets a little ugly? He grabs, he clinches Shakur. He might be a little bit more physical, even though I heard Shakur said that's not going to be an issue. Shakur said, he said, I'm not Lomachenko. He said Lomachenko is real small. He's like, I'm not small. So that'll be interesting, because we're so used to seeing Shakur just throw hands and it just looking like a work of art. What does Shakur look like in an ugly fight? You know what I'm saying? So that's why I think it'll be interesting to see this Jermaine Ortiz fight.
Yeah, and I 100% agree with you. And to your point, or just to kind of combat the point that you just made about really on Shakur's side when he says, Loma's a smaller fighter. Yeah, Loma's a smaller fighter, but he has more punching power than you do. Mm-hmm. So, and he was able to buckle Jermaine Ortiz. We've seen you hurt opponents, but not necessarily in a way of like he dropped his last opponent that ended up stopping Nakatani. I forget.
Yoshino.
He dropped him, but I don't think Yoshino was necessarily hurt, right?
Yeah.
So I would say Loma has, he's a bigger puncher, even though he's smaller. And I think that goes further than size at times. So.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. So like I said, I would love to see it. Of course, I know he called out Isaac Cruz. Doesn't really seem like that's gonna happen. And like you said, being both under the top rank stable, that Jermaine Ortiz fight just seems really realistic. Right. But now let's say if Devin Haney wins versus Lomachenko. Do you think Devin Haney goes into a fight with Shakur Stevenson, tries to wait it out for Tank, or move up to 140? Because it looks like that feud with him and Teofimo is rebuilding.
Yeah, I think the likely scenario is Bob Arum, top rank. They're going to look to force the fight with Shakur Stevenson if Devin Haney beats Lomachenko. Mm-hmm. Or even if Loma wins, right, that Shakur is going to be pushed to get the winner of that fight.
Yeah.
Right. Now, let's say Devin Haney wins and he beats Lomachenko. He's going to have the two most likely scenario is he actually either moves up to 140, right, and fights a contender at that weight class, or he fights Shakur Stevenson.
Yeah.
And that's what I truly believe. I'll be disappointed if he takes like a tune-up at 135, like an unknown name. I'll kind of be surprised, especially given his character and what he portrays.
Mm-hmm.
But I think those are the two likely scenario. Unfortunately, I don't see him going to take a Tank fight, especially with the 90-day house arrest, especially with a lot more going on, him being a part of the PBC stable. So those are the two likely scenario. And I think probably the Shakur fight is probably more likely than him going up to 140 pounds.
I'm actually leaning towards him going up to 140 pounds. I'm going to say the Lomachenko fight is difficult, even though I have him pulling it out. And I think he's going to not want to dehydrate that way again. So I can see him going up to 140. However, I don't think it's going to be Teofimo who wins this bout. I think it's going to be Josh Taylor. So I see him going up to 140, but do I see him immediately jumping in there with Josh Taylor? That I'm unsure about. Not because I think Devin's scared or anything, but it's really nothing there. So it'll need some build up. But
and that's if Josh Taylor even stays at 140. He's talking about going up to 147 and fighting Terrence Crawford. So
exactly,
you don't even know. So that's like it's like a doozy.
Exactly. But I do think Devin goes to 140 after this fight.
Would you look at him differently if he moves up to 140? Because he did say he's going to stay at 135 to fight Shakur.
I would look at him a tad bit differently, but I'm not gonna completely knock him if his body can't do it. Because if your body can't do it, I don't want you to be in there and not be at 100%, and then that really affects you. I want to see the best of the best fight the best when they feel the best as well. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because I don't think Shakur is gonna be at 135 for too long. I think if let's say Devin moves up, it's really just gonna be Tank. You know what I'm saying? And if Tank is playing games, Shakur will probably wipe it out and then he'll move up. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But so that there for Tank, I've heard rumblings about the Isaac Cruz rematch.
Cruz.
What now? If they were to have a rematch, what do you see the outcome being any different? Do you see the fight being any different? What do you see? Let me know.
I think if they have a rematch, I see Tank stopping Pitbull Cruz late.
Yeah,
I think he stops him late. I think
okay.
he's not going to play around with him this time.
Got you. Well, I don't necessarily think he played around with him, but that broken hand's amazing.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Right? He's not going to play around. Like, he's going to come into the fight knowing, hey, I broke my hand the first time. People are saying, Pitbull actually won the fight. I think he's going to come in there with a vendetta, and he's not going to play with Pitbull. And I think Pitbull Cruz's style, him throwing, he's going to walk into something, especially with Tank being an excellent counter puncher.
Yeah, but it's crazy because Pitbull was so responsible against Tank, and he might just be an intelligent fighter. He might just know what he can do against these other fighters because he was so responsible against Tank. Not saying you can't be hit, you know what I'm saying, but I don't know if he's gonna swing against Tank the way he was swinging against Gamboa. You know what I mean?
He kind of was swinging at Tank that first time. That first fight, he was, but he did mention he realized that Tank was hurt, so he did mention that. So he knew Tank had one arm, so he kind of swung for fences. So you might be right. He might be a little bit more cautious, but Tank is just by far the more intelligent fighter. And Pitbull is what you get. What you see is what you get with him. So
yeah, I'll say I'll watch that rematch. Actually, I'll watch it. I'm not sure that I really want it, but I'll definitely watch the rematch because I do think Gervonta is going to win again, but I think it'll kind of just hold things up. But it might be I need to stay active fight. Boom. I think it's going to be, they're probably going to do better revenue wise than they did in the first fight. Yeah. So, I'll definitely watch that fight, but I do want to see Haney, Stevenson, and Davis mix it up, Yeah,
100%, 100%. And I guess if Haney does end up moving up, then potentially it can open up room for a Tank versus a Shakur, right? Yeah. If he beats Pitbull and then Shakur fights whoever he fights or fights another person afterwards, then they can, get it on, right? So that can kind of open up the slot. So
yeah, 135 right now is really doing it for boxing. Like they're really holding it down right now. A guy who was at 135 that fought at 140 last night. I don't really want to get too deep into him, but like Rolando Romero, I think that could be another fight for Haney at 140 as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But I don't think Haney's gonna fight him if this is the same referee in the fight.
The same ref, early start, you get tapped, and the ref is like, that's it, you're done.
That was crazy. And it makes me wonder, is there any agenda behind it? Did they need Rolly to win that fight to be in place for anything that's set up? You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And you're probably right about that. And that's where corruption, boxing has its little pockets of corruption, and it's unfortunate to see. We don't have evidence that there were any corruption, but one thing is for sure, that was a terrible stoppage. So you guys in the comment section, feel free to like, comment, subscribe, dislike the video if you guys, feel like we did a terrible job, right? But let us know what you guys think. We'll be next for a Tank, Shakur, Devin Haney, who you guys favor in that rock, paper, scissors matchup, coining the phrase from Like I'm Rue Will.